welcome into another episode of the Buckeye Blitz podcast. I'm your host, Chad Stryker. Thanks for taking some time out of your day, and we'll jump right into it. If you watched the YSU game on Saturday, as I did, you probably came away with a few questions, and I think my first question is, what are we doing on third down? Why are we doing it that way? And can we not do it that way anymore, please? So the reason I say that is we are 114th on third down efficiency as an offense. That is not good enough, and you're not going to beat elite teams with that type of non-production. Got to be better. I'm just jumping right into it because I like it. I've been fired up about it since Saturday. I did kind of my normal rewatch on Sunday evening, and fast forward through the commercials and different things, but kind of a bummer. Part two is the officials were absolutely horrendous in that game. I mean, quite honestly, that's probably the worst officiated game I've seen since the Clemson-Ohio State game in 2019 playoff game. The sheer volume of blown and missed calls was absurd, and they should be ashamed. I know one person on Twitter suggested there should be like fines and penalties for blown calls. Don't understand it. Like, that's your job. Like, your job is to be an official. If I did that at my job, I wouldn't have that job anymore. I'll get off my soapbox now, but definitely frustrated by the officiating on Saturday. So as far as Ohio State's offense, we'll just dive right in there. McCord looked better. He looked more composed, and to tack onto like my tweet that I sent on Saturday, it's McCord's team now. I know that there's a large faction of the fan base that thought Devin Brown was going to win it, or for some reason thought Devin Brown was like this freak athlete Michael Vick person. He's not. I've been saying it since spring that they're more equal than they are different, and the true dual threat is Lincoln Kienholz, but people have to see it, I think, to believe it sometimes. So right now, if you're keeping score at home, McCord looks more polished, he looks more ready. And I think that, moving forward, it's good. We have the guy. And quite honestly, I've told you guys this before. Kyle McCord has a cannon for a right arm. Like, he can sling it. And so I think you guys might have seen there was a deep ball that Devin Brown threw to Marvin Harris Jr. that was just drastically underthrown and just floated in the air. And that's the difference that I've been talking about between Kyle McCord's arm and Devin Brown's arm. Devin Brown doesn't have a terrible arm, but Kyle McCord has a stronger arm, period. So, there it is. That's kind of what happened. And obviously today in the presser, Ryan Day named Kyle McCord the guy. So let's support him. Let's go forward with him and try to win a natty. This week against Western Kentucky, I do think you'll see maybe Devin Brown later in the game, but I don't think bringing him in the first half and disrupting the offensive rhythm and flow, I just felt like it was clunky when they did it, because I feel like it's almost like they had two different packages. You had a Kyle McCord package and a Devin Brown package, and you called plays differently in different offensive sets based on who was in there. And I think for a first-time play caller in Brian Hartline, and then Ryan Day overseeing it like that, I think that makes it real herky-jerky. And after seeing it again last week, my opinion hasn't changed. I felt that way week one. I felt that way last week. So let's move forward with Kyle McCord as our quarterback. I'm not dissing Devin Brown or his athletic ability, or he's a five-star prospect at Ohio State. He's obviously capable. I think it's important that we got him reps if something were to happen to Kyle McCord. But when we talk about athletic ability, we're not they're not running a triathlon. I'm not worried about how high he can jump and how fast he can run, 100 meters right now. What I'm worried about is, can you be productive in the offense and do what needs to be done? And again, like, if you really want a true dual threat guy, it's Lincoln Keenholz. He's the guy on the roster that can run around like a crazy person and then, sling the ball 60 yards. Like, he's that kind of a quarterback. So, I like the term South Dakota slinger for him. So maybe that'll stick. We'll see. As far as the offensive line, I told you guys last week a concern of mine, and it's still a concern. I don't understand why we can't run block efficiently. Why are we still struggling on 3rd and short and, when they load the box? This is Ohio State. If we can't get a yard against Indiana or YSU, something needs to change. I don't know what that something is. I don't get paid $1 billion to be an assistant coach and an offensive line coach. But at this point, I am not happy with our 3rd down efficiency and being 114th in the country. Like, that's incredibly frustrating to me. I thought overall the line played better, and honestly their pass blocking was better, and I would say decent. Donovan Jackson looked more like himself than he did against Indiana. The hold against Carson Hinsman was total crap. Like, that was a terrible call, never should have been called. Matt Jones was doing what Matt Jones does. He's playing like an NFL draft pick. He's solid. Josh Fryer, I love his athleticism. More reps will make him more efficient, but he looked really good in pass blocking. For me, Josh Simmons, it all rides on him. The jury's still out for me. More reps will help, but I think in big game, he's going, like, against a big time pass rusher, they're going to have to use 11 personnel or 12 personnel and help him with either Cade Stover or G. Scott or whoever the better blocking tight end is at the time to chip and slow that pass rush down, because what I'm seeing is that Simmons is thinking about what he's doing, because he's been a right tackle his whole career. Now everything's moved to the left, and he obviously has the build and the athletic ability, but the game speed and then trying to think about what you're doing and then learning a new offense and learning a new position, like, you can see the mental reps for him happening while the game is happening, and he'll grow throughout the season, but you're going to have to help him. And I'm wondering if that's what happened last week a lot, where Donovan Jackson was just trying to help Josh Simmons, and it impacted his play. So wide receivers, I'm just going to say it again. I want more pop passes and end arounds and stretch the field and use our elite speed. They did it really well with Paris Campbell a few years ago. I want to see that again. Where was Cade Stover? Like, what happened to Cade Stover on Saturday? Why is he so late on blocking assignments? What is happening with that? Like, what are we missing there? Honestly, G. Scott on Saturday played better than Cade Stover, and I'll take all the hate mail you want on that, but he did. He blocked better. He played better. I want to see Carnell Tate start at the 3rd wide receiver position, and Fleming and X can rotate, in the 4 wide receiver sets, because quite honestly, Tate is too much of a game changer to leave on the sideline, and I'm kind of over the Julian Fleming experiment. He makes the routine catches, and maybe that's why, Ryan Day keeps going with him. He makes the routine plays routinely. But I just don't see, when Carnell Tate gets the ball, I feel like it's just an explosive play waiting to happen, and I do not feel that way with Julian Fleming. So, for what it's worth, that's just my opinion. I definitely want to see 3 or 4 wide receiver screens, especially to Igbuka, because he makes good things happen. I feel like every time they do that, they get 8 or 9 yards. So let's use it. Running backs, Trey Henderson looks healthy finally, but I want them to use him primarily in space. I can see now that he's not a banger. He's not going to put his head down and go through the middle of the offensive line. And if you're old enough to remember Eric Metcalf, I wish the Browns would have used him more in that way too, and just got him more in space instead of trying to pound him up the middle, because that's not really what he's built to do. He's a home run waiting to happen, and I feel like using him in space is the way to best utilize his ability. He's not. I don't think he's an every down type back. But that's just me again. This is me looking at things from. I'm not a professional, so can I ask a favor and have the offense please stop doing stretch runs to the short side of the field into the boundary on 3rd and 1, because it never works, and let's just go downhill and like push the pile forward for a yard, please. Put Chip Trainum and Mayan Williams back there and give Trainum the ball and have Mayan push from behind him like the Bush push. I don't care how you do it, just do it. Trainum should probably be splitting carries with Mayan and just pound it on the ground. You can have Trey and Chip or Trey and Mayan both in the backfield. I don't care how you do it, but they need to be wearing down the defensive line and pounding that rock in there, so that when the third quarter does come and our elite speed can take over the game. And that over time will lead to more and more downfield shots with the passing game as they ground and pound. But, I'm not Ryan Day. Defensively, the teams, I thought the team played the defensive, the whole defensive secondary played pretty well. The defensive line was underwhelming a little bit, but I think it was just the style offense that we played. Neither Indiana nor YSU was just going to do a 7-step drop and let JTT and Mike Hall and so on tee off on their quarterback. They weren't going to do that. I do feel like that's impacting their production a little bit because, just the number of dropbacks versus the number of pressures. I still maintain I don't like how far upfield JT Tuimoloau gets when he's supposed to be setting the edge, because there's been a couple of times where the quarterback could just leak out underneath of JTT because he's pushing so far up the field instead of setting the edge. And, and maybe that's the way he's being coached, and I don't know it. It's just a different style of football than what I've seen and what I'm used to. But, from another point of view, I really want to start seeing Caden Curry rotate with Jack Sawyer. Every time Caden Curry's in there, he's creating havoc, he's causing a problem, and he may not get the sack or the tackle or the pressure, but he's causing something to happen which allows someone else to do that. He plays with such energy and such fire, it's nonstop. And so I'm not seeing that out of Jack Sawyer, and I'm not saying he's doing anything wrong. I'm just saying I'm not seeing the havoc wreaking that I see with Caden Curry. So, in my mind, I kind of want to put Caden Curry on the outside with JT Tuimoloau and put Jack Sawyer and Mike Hall in the middle together and just kind of see what happens. But, I might be a little bit crazy. So, I did hear, today that the part of the reason that Mike Hall isn't an every down player is they're trying to save his bullets, we'll say, for the remainder of the season, because he has gotten dinged up the last couple years, so they want him to be healthy so he's not playing 45 to 50 snaps. He's getting 25 to 30. Okay, fine, but you're going to need him in the big game, so he needs to be in game shape. Also, I would like to see a little more Hero Canoe, because when he's in there, I feel like he's been a space eater, and I kind of like what he brings to the table. From a linebacker standpoint, Cody Simon deserves to play. I feel bad for the guy. If he stays next year, he should start besides C.J. Hicks. I know Gabe Powers is in waiting too, but what I saw how I saw him play on Saturday, the kid deserves to play. We're so fortunate with Tommy Eichenberg and Seal Chambers. They literally mop up everything. And if there's an issue or something doesn't go quite right, thank goodness for Tommy Eichenberg and Seal Chambers and They're sure tackling. They do a great job with gap fundamentals, and we're for as much crap as people gave Eichenberg in the 2021 season. He has really played phenomenally, and I really like the kid, and thank goodness he came back. I know the much ballyhooed C.J. Hicks. I know we anointed him before he even got here. Um, he's going to have his time. We're going to get to see him, and I hope we get to see him in the Jack because I think that would be fantastic. But honestly, what I've seen from the linebackers, Steele and Tommy, I don't know how they play much better to win over the hearts of Buckeye Nation. From the DBs, Denzel Burke, what can you say? He looks like a completely different player, even from his freshman year. The kid, he's ready. And getting that interception on Saturday, I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy after how much grief he got last year, playing hurt, playing dinged up basically the whole year with a bad shoulder. He made a tackle and then promptly thereafter made an interception, and I'm really happy for him. And I'm hoping that he stays healthy and that carries on through the remainder of the year. Because if he plays like this, he's going to be a first or second round draft pick. I have a couple questions I don't know the answer to, and I'm hoping to get an opportunity to ask on one of the podcasts or on Twitter, maybe. I want to understand why Davison Igbinosun is playing so far off the line of scrimmage on the wide side of the field, because if he's 9 yards off, a 5 to 7 yard out is just pitch and catch. So maybe it's a scheme thing, and I don't understand. But I'd love to know. I'd love to understand just so I can learn. But it seems odd that Denzel Burke is in press coverage on the short side of the field against the boundary, and Igbinosun is not. And again, it might be a scheme thing, and I just don't know. So if you do know, let me know. I'd like to learn. The other question I have, and I didn't understand, but I noticed that both big pass plays came against safeties in coverage. So Cam Martinez got burnt on a deep ball, and he was near the wide receiver, but it was obvious that he wasn't blanketing the wide receiver. And then another one was Lathan Ransom a little bit later in coverage. And so I want to understand what they were doing with Cam Martinez in that instance. And it could just be again, who was on the field at the time. Jordan Hancock is playing really well. I like him at the nickel. He kind of reminds me of Sean Wade. I think that's a position that he should come to own throughout the season. And we're going to need him to play well against Western Kentucky and their air raid offense. And I wouldn't be surprised if you see Jair Brown or Ryan Turner this weekend, or both, given how many wide receivers Western Kentucky throws out there at a time. So I don't want to rag on Cam Martinez, because I like him. I think he's a really good athlete. I'm just trying to understand, if he's not built to do that, i.e. Lathan Ransom, when he fell down in the Georgia game in press coverage, they're safeties for a reason, and if we're asking them to do things that they're fundamentally physically not able to do, I want to understand the thought process behind it. Now, again, it was YSU. Was it a big deal? Not really, but and everybody was getting reps and everybody's getting playing time. And trust me, I'm not questioning Jim Knowles at all. I just want to understand why that's happening, and why is it that seems like whenever there's a big pass play like that, it's a safety in coverage. It's a little frustrating, I guess, for me. to not understand it. Sonny Styles is a beast. Like, goodness gracious, like that kid, he should be a freshman in college, and enjoy him while he's here. I'm going to quote the Dolans on that. Enjoy him while he's here, because I do think that after next season, he'll be off to the NFL. The defense all around is playing sound football, but I want us to get off the field on third downs and get more stops, because more stops on three and outs means more possessions for the offense. And I know a lot of us are kind of frustrated with the clock rules, but let's be real straightforward here. If we get off the field on third down, we get the ball back. So, these plays where they're getting the ball inside the 10 and they're driving out almost to midfield and they get a couple first downs because we're not getting off the field on third down, that's taking away, and by the time that happens and 3.5 minutes run off the clock, that's taking away another possession from the offense. So let's get off the field on third down. That's my plea. That's what we need to do. But in the realm of like things and stuff that I thought about today, that's everybody has to deal with the clock rules now. So let's control what we can control. We're not going to be able to change the clock. So let's fix the issues. Let's convert on third downs on offense, and let's stop the team on third downs on defense, and that should all level out. Lastly, really impressed with Jaden Fielding. Not only kickoffs but field goals and extra points. I really liked Noah Ruggles. I thought they put him in a terrible position last year in the Peach Bowl. So thankful that Fielding has been able to pick that up and run with it. So I hope you guys have a good week. That's going to do it for me today. I'll do my Buckeye Friday preview for Western Kentucky, what to watch for, who to watch for as usual. Until then, stay safe. Go Bucks.